Good morning! Why don't you guys hang out with me and see if you can keep up? Good morning! Welcome to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. I'm going to see if you guys can keep up with me today. That's right, I've got a lot of activity going on as I do every day. Now I just want to remind my viewers, I only work 3 days a week, but those are 3 12-hour days, which is considered full-time. And I have 4 days a week I have to fill in my spare time with, so I get plenty of activity done around the farm, along with getting plenty of time to rest. And it's during those rest periods is when I actually produce my videos that I shoot throughout the day and any given project that I want to shoot and demonstrate some information to my audience. So hang out with me and we'll go. The plans for today is, first of all, I got to go up and feed the animals. I've got to take apart the porta-boat, and then one of my viewers wanted me to take some pictures of the seats and some measurements so he can replace the seats that were thrown away from his porta-boat, and hopefully this will work out for him. I'm also going to go up on the mountain and look for morel mushrooms this morning, and maybe, weather permitting, I'm going to get into the beehives and do some hive inspection and maybe some splitting and some maintenance. We're also going to be going into the greenhouse and planting some more seeds in little cups to get those started for the garden season, and we're also going to be doing some work in the garden. I am also going to be driving down to the other homestead and maybe doing some work down there to see what needs to be done. I have a guy that's coming over getting a free RV that I'm giving away on Craigslist, and hopefully he'll show up today and grab it. In addition, I'll be setting up shots for my YouTube show. So this video I'm dedicating to everybody who is, well, has certain forms of disabilities or is incapable or unable or don't know how to do anything. That's what my show is about. Is myself, I have a disability. I can't work a chainsaw because I have a pacemaker, so I'm really getting to doing everything by hand, which is great because it's good cardiovascular exercise for me, which creates better health for me. Since I had that open heart surgery, it helps my heart heal more. And the pacemaker is what prevents me from getting to use a gas-powered chainsaw. I do have a battery-operated electric chainsaw that I was gifted by Discovery Channel. It's a Ryobi, and I was able to use that and help expedite my chores around the farm, but the battery only lasts so long, and I have to stop and go charge the battery and then come back out and do some more work on something else till the battery's charged, and go back, get the battery, put it back in the chainsaw, and go out and do some work. So it's a long process, but I'm always active and always doing something. So the pigs are really screaming for some food. So let's get them fed, and let's get the chickens and ducks fed, and also the geese. Oh, don't forget the rabbits. This is for my morels. You guys hungry? How about the babies? They hungry? Oh my goodness. Here you go. You guys going the right way. I have a hen that insists on laying with the duck eggs. And I have a goose back here sitting on a nest of duck eggs and goose eggs and chicken eggs. And there's a nest there, and there's a nest there. I am not sure what triggers a goose, or any bird for that matter, when to start laying permanently, like that one goose over there, to start incubating her eggs, because those other 3 nests aren't quite set on yet. Occasionally one is. So hopefully we'll get a lot of baby goslings, because I have people calling me already looking for baby goslings. Oh, and I just added something else to my things to do list today, as I have to clean out the rabbit turds from the bunny bungalow. We used to have a rabbit one as a kid. We called these turds Cocoa Puffs. In fact, we called one of our rabbits Coco. Oh, I just wanted to point out, the name of my farm is called Pine Meadows Hobby Farm, and I want to emphasize hobby. Even though it is a homestead, we're profitable here now, and we're successful at growing food and cultivating our animals and stuff like that. So hobby is a passion in some kind of a creative activity that you do, whether it's restoring an old automobile, painting, whatever. One of my many hobbies is farming. I absolutely, passionately love what I'm doing, and so therefore, how could it be anything other than a hobby? And it just so happens that videography is another passion I've had for years and years and years, and I'm able to use that venue through YouTube as an avenue to which to show my creativity, or vent my creativity of videography, and I'm getting better as I go. And it just was to my advantage when Discovery Channel was here and the crew was here filming. I was able to glean a lot from the film crew, a lot of interesting ways of filming. And also, I did take a film class when I was in college about 5 years ago, so that helped out a lot as well. And what I really want to do is go interview a legendary film star that lives actually right in my neighborhood. It's Kim Novak, and she's an artist, a painter, and I'd really love to interview her sometime on her painting skills, because she got some beautiful art. And as a painter and an artist myself, which is another hobby I have, I'd really love to share with you guys her talents as well, other than being a film star. So let's go back and get those, see if I have any morel mushrooms that I can glean, wild edibles. I wanted to take this time and point out that this whole homestead, if you guys have been following my vlogs, if you're new to the channel, there's some vlogs in the history on how Pine Meadows Hobby Farm was born, so check out that video. I'll leave a link down below. And the evolution of the farm, and how what it looked like when we bought it, and how much work I put into it to get all of this, doing it by myself and still recovering from open heart surgery. My one mantra, remember, is if it is to be, it is up to me. And the main one is focusing on my abilities rather than my disabilities. And I was able to achieve all of this by myself. I hired no one to do anything. Oh, I did hire one person to move the double-wide manufactured home over with his truck. That's it. I put it together myself. I built all the outbuildings by gleaning resource-free material and building everything. The only thing it cost me was maybe paint and screws and stuff that I didn't have. I would sell livestock to get enough revenue to be able to purchase the material I needed to be able to build this whole homestead from nothing. Here's a small pile of wood, one of many that's on the acreage back here that I was able to cut with that battery operated chainsaw. So I was able to get this whole area cleared out and all the slash burnt. And my son helped me in the last couple of years because he moved back to the homestead. In the first 2 years he was not here. My daughter was not here. It was just myself and my wife, and I did all the work by myself with my wife stepping in and helping with a couple of items like building the foundation under the house, as well as holding a board here and lifting up the shed there, things like that. She did a wonderful bang-up job. She also helped me with putting the carport up. But for the most part, it was done by an old fart with a bad heart. There you go. Well, we're in the backyard now, and beyond these poles is the backyard of the back 40. This post right here set approximately 300 feet back from the my backyard where the house sets. This area back here measures 300 feet by 300 feet, and that's where we're going to go for the morels. So let's go. There's the shower for the tree house. This is the area where the morel mushrooms grow. I got to be careful because the poison oak is growing too, and I'm getting a little bit more and more immune to poison oak. I'm not breaking out as bad, but I'm noticing the spring flowers that have all bloomed out here too. Really nice. So this is where I start looking for the morels. What I do is just crisscross up the mountain looking back and forth. This is how I find the mushrooms, how I've looked for them in the last 3 years. This is my third season of actually finding morels or hunting for them. I haven't found any yet this year yet. So far I'm not finding any morel mushrooms. I understand. Something I just learned about morels is they grow by when the tops dry out and the wind blows the spores away from the wind, and it spreads the spores and they grow in like straight lines. And I hope I didn't ruin my crop by not leaving a couple of mushrooms behind for the next year's crop. We'll see. I also am finding a lot of sugar pine cones. Look at that honker. It's huge. That's cool. Ooh, a craft idea. Wrap some kind of a fancy colored ribbon like red, blue, green, and hang them from the eaves of my house at the holiday season, Christmas. That way I don't have to pay electricity or punch in lights to my solar power to run Christmas decorations. I have Homestead off-grid Christmas decoration. This is cool. I get inspired a lot when I come out here. I guess that's the mind of an artist. One thing I'm noticing while I'm out here looking for the mushrooms is the pine straw. This is great organic material to put in the garden as a mulch, because if you notice, it covers the ground, it retains the moisture of the soil, and it also prevents other plants from seeding because the seeds don't have a chance to fall and germinate through the pine straw. This is great. Interesting. That reminds me of that show I watched, the Back to Eden garden that this guy does up in Washington State. There's a movie that's out. I'll leave a link for that below also. That's interesting. But look at the soil that's under here. Once you clear the mulch away, it's just organic material. Over the years, it's fallen and composted into soil, and it's rich in all kinds of nutrients because there's a lot of microbes, bacteria, enzymes that are in there that are good for planting. Now there's the dirt right there. There's a difference between dirt and soil. Soil is your nutrient-rich compost, and dirt is just ground up stone that is not living. It's very shallow up here. So this area, it looks like it used to be inundated by water. This was a big inland lake. This little valley I'm living in, and this is the back of my mountain. This mountaintop right here where we stand is at 2,000 foot elevation, but the mountains around me are much higher. And there's some sand, deep sand, up along the ridge of this mountain. So that indicated to me there may have been a lake here, because there's a little narrow gorge over there. That gorge, I won't give the name of it because it'll reveal my location, and I want to keep my anonymity kind of private on my location of my farm. But it's very narrow, and it looks like eventually the water carved its way through the canyon and drained out of here. As you look at the satellite maps, I could see where there was evidence of a lake being here. And besides, I can see it in the soil. So this was relatively recent, because there's only like 2 inches of soil accumulated on this. So you may be asking at this point, how in the world do I have time to do all this? Well, number one is I don't have a cell phone to play video games on or sit and scan the internet constantly. We live in a dead zone. I'm surrounded by these mountain ridges, and there's no cell signal that gets into this valley, which makes it a little bit blissful from my perspective personally. I don't spend a whole lot of time on the internet. I do, if I need to research something, I'll go on Google or some .edu websites to try to research what information that I'm looking for. I also use my phone and make some contacts and ask questions. And speaking of the phone, it's a wired landline phone, the old copper wire. And that's how our internet connection is right now, is the old copper wire DSL internet connection. Kind of slow for today's standard, for those of you who live in the urban areas that get lightning speed internet. And TV. I have a TV. Like cell signal, we get no TV signal up here, and I'm such a cheapskate, I will not pay for any commercial networks to put in a ugly dish on my house, so I can get TV and watch what? When I'm at work and I'm meandering in from patient room to patient room, I see TV they're watching. It's just like, I'm glad I live out here, really, because there's nothing on TV I'm interested in. There's no sitcoms, news programs, anything that I am interested in that's on the boob tube these days. So I do have a TV, I have a video collection, and I maybe watch 5 videos a year. Yeah, that's all I can stand, you know, to sit, because I'm not a person that likes to sit. I have to do something like now. My camera is running out of battery power, so I'm heading back into the house for a coffee break and get fresh batteries. Oh! And then on my coffee break, I sit and chat with my wife, and I also check my YouTube account and answer any questions of any fans that I might have that have questions, and respond to your comments. And that's what I do during my coffee breaks. So I'm always doing something. Or I'll sit out here on the porch swing and drink my coffee. and then read the gardening book, because it is gardening season, so there's always something I'm doing. When I'm injured and laid up, I will do stuff like I painted and scratch boarded and drew 10 pieces of artwork in January while I was injured and laid up and couldn't even walk out here and do my farm chores. And in addition to, I wrote a book, haven't got it published yet, but we'll talk about that later. So when I was recovering from open heart surgery, I didn't have a farm. We were just still living homeless in a travel trailer, but in spite of that, I was researching and writing, and I wrote 2 books and got them published. And I mentioned those in an earlier video back in my archives, I think under the title of now about those books in my library, and that video explains those books in my library. So yeah, I'm always busy doing something because I'm driven, that's my passion. I want to entertain myself, that's my entertainment. Because I don't have TV to listen to. I'll listen to radio once in a while, but I'm selective about what I listen to. So I don't give a whole lot to the noise that goes on in the world, or that's out there in the world. Because I don't want that noise to influence me in any way. I want to be influenced myself. And I'm living a much happier, and I emphasize happier and peaceable life in spite of what goes on outside of the parameters of my homestead. Unless something that goes on in the world that affects me directly, then I pay attention to that. While I was laid up with recovering from open heart surgery and the pacemaker, it was not until a year after that I was able to actually get surgeries to correct my hands, because my hands had gone numb from a previous job I used to do. I worked 14 years at this company, and grabbing files like this constantly, it caused some damage in my hands, and I lost complete feelings in my hands. So I had to go in and get some surgeries. I had 2 surgeries on this arm and 2 surgeries on this arm. It took a year for the surgeries. But anyway, I got the feelings back in my hands. Good for me, because I need the feeling in my hands to be able to feel a pulse on the patients that I work with at the hospital. And that is a vocation that I was able to get after, you know, trying to come out of homelessness. So one thing a couple of people were asking is being homeless and who paid for my open heart surgery. Well, I'll answer that question. It was simply put, you did. I want to thank you very much. I really, really owe you guys a lot. The taxpayers here in my state, who back in the time we had a public health plan, and I was able to get on that health plan, and they were able to you know, pay for my medical necessity. And so feeling grateful and humbled by the generosity of the state and the people, I did not forget that. So in spite of being disabled, and again learning to focus on my abilities rather than my disabilities, I couldn't work. For 4 years I couldn't work, but I did something. I volunteered. And I encourage anybody who, regardless of your disabilities and regardless of your abilities, volunteer. If you can't work, go out and volunteer something. It's something about volunteerism that really helps an individual's ego, his self, and that's what's really important about how you feel about yourself, and it builds yourself up. I volunteered for the Civil Air Patrol. My son had come to me, he was young, and asked me if he could join Scouts. I knew he was interested in aviation, so I said, son, why don't we go back down to the local squadron and I'll introduce you to the Civil Air Patrol. Boy, he fell in love with it. And he was in it for about a year, and then he begged me to join, but I didn't have the money or resources to be able to pay the membership. So I had the membership gifted to me by some sponsors, and I was able to join. Started out in the adult program, and then there was a need to fill the cadet programs, to facilitate the cadet programs. So after a year I stepped into deputy commander for cadet programs at the local squadron, and I facilitated that program, helping with the education and teaching of aerospace education, physical fitness, testing the kids in the physical fitness venue, and also teaching them moral leadership and character development and leadership skills. So that was a lot of fun, and I was able to have a activity that I could do with my son. Most all of it was administrative, so it was something I could do without overactivity. But we had so much fun, and I made so many memories for those kids because I wanted to make that program fun for them. And the program just grew, and we got so many national and local awards for our productivity and our activities that we did. It was wonderful. Many good memories for Civil Air Patrol. So that's what I did in spite of not being able to work. I volunteered. And it was my way of giving back to my community, so I involved myself with a search and rescue program. So I was able to go out, and I was able to fly and be a scanner and look for lost people or crashed aircraft or whatever we were looking for. And that was my way of giving back to my community and repaying the community for what they did for me. I'm no longer involved in that program. My son, oh, he went through that program, went all the way up through the cadet ranks. He became cadet colonel before he aged out of the program, where he could no longer be a cadet. He had to make a choice and go into the senior program. So we both decided to go in another direction, and I finally got back to work, so I was able to focus my time and skills on gainful employment, and also continue to give back to the community and help others that are in need. And irony of it all is I work in the healthcare setting with cardiac patients, and with all my firsthand experience with being a cardiac patient, I'm able to help mentally the patients who are struggling to come to terms with their illness, their heart issues. And so it's been a really good thing for me, because it gives me the self-fulfillment of being able to reach out and help others. It's starting to rain, so I guess my next activity will be in the greenhouse, because it's covered, and I'll be starting seeds in K-cups that I've been saving from my coffee maker. We saved a bunch of K-cups for little planters. I just got to find a platter or some kind of a situation to be able to put them in, and we'll just fill them with some soil and plant the seeds and get them started in the greenhouse. Yay! If it continues to rain, I'll just take that boat and put it in the carport and film my teardown and disassembly of the boat in the carport. Okay, coffee break is over. Time to go have some more fun. A guy called me up and answered that Craigslist ad that I had on that motorhome I'm giving away down at the other estate that I'm cleaning up. So let's run down there and see if he came to pick it up yet. So are you guys keeping up with me? Oh rats, it's still here. Hey, he called and said he'd be up yesterday morning early to get it, and he's called several times insisting that he wants it. I hope he does come and get it. Anyway, if he doesn't, it just needs a bath and it needs some minor repairs, but it's got a good engine in it. They drove it up here. It needs a brake job, and it needs a refrigerator and a water heater, I believe. Yeah, that's it. It's got a furnace, and it's got a stove, and it's got a sink. It's got a new toilet in it and a shower. So it's got elements. Even if you just take it, tear it down, recycle the material, sell the engine, you've got all the elements, or most of the elements you need for building your tiny house, and it's free material to resource. This is the last item I need to get off this property, and this estate would then be cleaned up, done. Except for 4 of those sheds, we still need to clean those out. Oh, look what I found. A bucket for the greenhouse to put those K-pads in. Cool. So I resourced a couple of things out of the motorhome before it went. Is this nice Rubbermaid container to put my K-cups in to be able to start my seeds. So we're going to go back to the homestead and do that. And I also got this little plastic container that would fit perfectly the seed packets that I have with a lid. So awesome, free. Okay, let's go down and check on the house and the sheds to see if they've been disturbed. Just a security check. We had a terrible windstorm here yesterday, and it blew things around. Boy, if I had a couple of videos that went viral on YouTube, I could afford to buy it, because I really love this place. This is where we lived, is on this homestead for several years in our RV while we were, I was recovering from my open heart surgeries and stuff. I became caretaker of this place, and then the lady needed to sell it, so that's why I'm cleaning it up. But we still got these sheds to clean out, and those videos will be forthcoming once we get them started cleaning. This driveway goes right down through there, crosses the creek over a bridge and back up into a back meadow, and then it crosses a back fence line, goes up a mountain. So there's a lot of timber here. It's got timber up along here, and the fence line is quite a ways over that way. The property measures an 1/8 of a mile wide. It measures a mile long, and it is 84 acres, 3 tax lots, 3 dwellings, good rentals. If I could afford to buy this property, oh, I would so love to. I still got to load that into the back of the truck and get that taken over to my homestead. I'm going to be fixing it and using it, because that was left behind by the previous tenants. I want to point out that that shed right there, That is a great big giant water tank that's filled from a cistern up on the mountain. And there's a gas-powered pump down there. There is 2-inch water lines that go up to the upper home, the front home there, and this home. And it's for fire suppression. In case fires get near the place, we have a water storage to be able to suppress some fires. It has more water in it than a fire engine can carry because it's a pretty big tank in there. This home here sits right next to this little stream that flows through here. It's not a year-round stream. It does dry up in the late summers, but for the most part, about 8-9 months out of the year, it does have water in it. There's the barn I built when I used to live up there. This is one of my favorite features on this ranch, was this pond. It has a couple islands in it. It attracts a lot of waterfowl like the Canada goose. We've had several Canada goose raise their young like they are out here on this island. There's several nests on that island, and this other island behind me. They set up their nests here, there, and everywhere. We got turtles in the pond. There's no fish in here except for the little mosquito fish that eat mosquito larvae. Because the pond does not stay this full year round. The pond does dry up into a smaller pool. Over here in the deepest section, this pond was primarily dug for helicopters to be able to come in here and dip their buckets and fight wildfires that frequent our area around here. Current asking price for this place is $650,000. So are you guys still keeping up? Come on, let's go back to my homestead. We got some work to do over there. So since the weather is being kind of drippy, we're going to go ahead and work in the greenhouse right now, and we're going to take these things that I got, I resourced free from that free motorhome down at the other homestead I'm trying to give away. So let's go get some seeds started. In my previous episode, we were starting a bunch of seeding here, and they have sprung. I got spinach springing, muslin springing. Well, I don't see the lettuce germinating, but I've got a lot of stuff germinating down here in the flat. My hot peppers, sweet peppers. I've got all kinds of tomatoes. I got some herbs sprouting. So this is a good thing. I think we're going to have a good garden this year. So we're going to see if my seeds will fit in here. Yes, they will. Yay. So this is much better. Much better. And the lid fits on nice and tight. Cool! Seed storage! Awesome! So these are the K-cups I was talking about from our coffee maker that we have. And all I'm going to do is take the coffee and dump it in the worm bin. And then we're going to set the K-cups in this bucket. I'm going to plant some seeds. Poke a hole. I'm going to cover and pack it down, and then write "Delicious tomatoes" on each one of those. That way they're labeled and I know what's growing in them. So those water barrels not only absorb and retain the heat and disperse it throughout the night, in the greenhouse by collecting the solar rays as the sun passes around the greenhouse during the daytime. The heat from this barrels also radiates up, and it's a good place to put seeds on top of the barrels so you can allow the heat to warm the soil, and that warm soil helps the germination of the seed that you're planting. So we got that chore done, and the barrels will generate the heat that goes up and germinate the seed that I set on top of the barrels. So that is finished. Now let's turn our attention to the boat. Okay, let's see how fast this tears down. Okay, and it locks into place. Oh, gotta go forward. There we go. And the boat's locked and secured. The boat's locked and secured in place, and it's ready to go camping. Hey, I've decided to take a break and head down to the hardware store. And I've got to go to the grocery store anyway. It's 6 miles down the road to the closest store. So we're going to go get a couple of these washers and a couple of wing nuts and a little carriage bolt. Okay, if we're lucky, we can see the elephants. Well, it's crappy weather out, so I doubt that guy will have the elephants outside. We're almost to the top of the hill, then we start ascending down into the big valley. Here's the top of the hill. There is a camel right there and some turkey. 2-hump camel. Nope, sorry, the elephants were not out because they're usually out on sunny days, and being a warmer weather creature and this being the cold Cascades, it's got a really nice barn for them. Hey, I'm here at the hardware store. Okay, I got dinner. I got those bolts to help keep that front piece on the boat. And I got a rabbit bottle and a rabbit bottle brush to clean the rabbit bottles, because I had one of the nipples started breaking and wouldn't hold water anymore, so I got to replace that rabbit bottle. So we'll get that taken care of tonight, and that poor rabbit can have a ready supply of water around the clock, because she's been running out of water too often. Now it's time to get some propane. I got to fill up that bottle in the back. So here we go. Okay, got my propane. I got my propane, and it's back to the homestead. Well, way up there on the other side of those mountains. Way up there. Well, it's 6 o'clock at night. I've been going since 7 o'clock this morning. That's 11 hours straight, taking a couple of breaks. So I'm done for the day here on Homestead, but not done because I've got to take these videos, because I shot 3 or 4 videos during the course of the day in conjunction with this one, and then I'm going to process them, and I got to upload that other video to London to the producer of Discovery or for Homestead Rescue. So busy. Glad you guys hung out with me and stayed caught up with this old fart with a bad heart. We'll see you guys again, more videos. Be sure to subscribe, stay tuned for more videos, and give me a thumbs up and share my videos for the channel. It helps our channel grow.